Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I think if people don't sit in the front rows, we're going to have to move the bima back.
Who needs
You
the bima?
can't escape us. So we're going to take a few moments to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Please feel free to get up and wander around and see somebody you don't know and say Shabbat Shalom. We are going to turn to page 2 in our Sidurim, and it's my pleasure to invite up the Gelber, Barker, Kurtzer, Silverstein clan for the kindling of the Shabbat candles on page 2.
behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Beautiful. We turn now to page 4 for the introduction to the Kiddush.
And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
The heaven and the earth.
The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit
Amen. L'chaim. Thank you all. And Hannah, welcome back from your first year. We're going to turn in our prayer books to page 8. I'm going to try to get the page numbers right this week. And let's share this prayer together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. We turn to page 12.
מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני, ומהולם מאוד, נורא הוא, על כל אלוהים. כל אלוהי עמים אלילים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, הוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו. ני 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 ני
now to page 20 for the singing of Lecha Dodi. We welcome the Sabbath bride together, and on the final verse, we rise and turn to the entrance. We turn to Howard, who's sitting right outside the door, to welcome the Sabbath bride.
זכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. היי! לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבל לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבל לקראת שבת מכוון אלך, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, היבהרק ומאורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. היי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בנה, גם בשמחה ובצוהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יננה 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 בשבת נקבלה.
We turn to page 28 for the call to worship, the Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yalalai lai lai, 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 yalalai lai lai.
We turn to page 33 for this prayer of Ahavat Olam, which we recite together in the English. wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that it gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai,
Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We turn to pages 34 and 35. Later in our service, I'll be speaking about this week's Torah portion, Shlach Lecha, that features Joshua and Caleb, the only two scouts who came back with a positive report from their entry into Canaan as they were assessing whether or not they could be there. And one of the things that we learn about them is that because they sensed that God was with them, they felt strong enough and courageous enough to enter that land. And so as we think about them and we think about these words of Shema, these words that invoke God's name, may we too feel the sense of the divine, and may that give us strength and courage. And so we chant together, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Shabbat Shalom. If you hear that my voice is a little bit out, it's because a group of us were chanting this morning outside of the Homestead Detention Center and shot my voice a little bit, so thank you for your patience. As we showed up this morning for asylum-seeking children who have been ripped apart from their families or from designated adults at our border, I thought of my mentor, teacher and rabbinic school director, Rabbi Richard Levy, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Richard was the first rabbi at HUC who I met with in my process of becoming a rabbi, and he was director of the rabbinic school in Los Angeles. He died 1 week ago today. He was an inspiration, a caring mentor. He was a creative liturgist and spiritual leader. He pushed the boundaries of Reform Judaism. He sought justice and compassion, and again stood on the right side of history. So I want to share with you that one of those times was showing up for civil rights in St. Augustine, Florida in 1964 during the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King asked him and a group of rabbis to march with them, and his words afterwards, he wrote a piece called Why We Went Down. I was thinking of these words this morning and throughout this week in Homestead. They ring true for our movements and our congregation's campaign for immigration justice today, just as they did for civil rights then. He wrote, "We went to St. Augustine in response to the appeal of MLK addressed to the CCAR conference, in which he asked us to join with him in creative witness to our joint convictions of equality and racial justice. We came because we realized that injustice in St. Augustine, as anywhere else, diminishes the humanity of each of us. We came because we could not stand idly by our brother's blood. We had done that too many times before." And later he wrote, "We came as Jews who remember the millions of faceless people who stood quietly watching the smoke rise from Hitler's crematoria. We came because we know that second only to silence, the greatest danger to man is loss of faith and man's capacity to act. Here in St. Augustine, we have seen the depths of anger, resentment, and fury. We've seen faces that expressed a deep, implacable hatred. What disturbs us more deeply is the large number of decent citizens who have stood aside, unable to bring themselves to act, yet knowing in their hearts that this cause is right and that it must inevitably triumph." So that is just a glimmer of the teacher that he was. And as we seek to restore our faith in a world that reflects equality and justice, please join us in singing Michamocha, page 40. Ya lai 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 ya la lai ya la lai 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 ya lai 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 ya la lai ya la lai 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 ya lai 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 ya la lai 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 ya la lai 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 mi chamocha bailim Adonai mi chamocha nedar bakodesh Rati lo do se felle, no rati lo do se felle. Ya lai 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 ya la lai ya la lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 ya la lai ya la lai 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 lai. Lai ya lai 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 ya la lai 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 lai. Lai 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 ya lai 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 ya la lai lai lai. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
Amen. We turn to page 42 for the singing of Hashkivenu, and we pray for God's Sukkot Shalom, God's shelter of peace over each one of us and our loved ones.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom, V'ha'amidenu Shomreinu L'chayim, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. Amen. English not in your book. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us safely wrong from right, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us safely wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Amen.
Beautiful. We're going to continue our prayers on page 46. These are the prayers of Hatfilah, the central worship in our service. And for this, we are going to rise if you're able. And after we sing the Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, we will continue silently, either with the prayers in our book or the prayers of our hearts. And as you conclude your prayers, you may be seated.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach ufi Gita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. So on the theme of optimism for change and the importance of faith and all those worthy causes that we give our energy to, I invite you to turn in your program to Shavat Vayinafash, to the words of When You Believe, made famous by Prince of Egypt, but written by Stephen Schwartz. And please sing with me, so I'm not singing alone. When You Believe. Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to give. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when prayer so often proved in vain, hope seemed like the summer birds too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here with heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to give. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. You will when you believe. Ashir al Adonai Goga. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nachita v'chastecha, amzugalta. Nachita v'chastecha, amzugalta. Ashira, Ashira, Ashira. Ashira l'Adonai ki goga. Ashira l'Adonai ki goga. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nachita v'chastecha, amzugalta. Nachita v'chastecha, amzugalta. Ashira, Ashira, Ashira. There can be miracles when you believe together. Though hope is frail, it's hard to give. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe? Somehow you will. Now you will. You will when you believe. You will when you believe. Double michamocha tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. I was expecting all the 20-something-year-olds to be singing from
All
your
of them?
days of knowing from Prince of Egypt. You should watch it again. It's a great movie.
We love it.
We loved it. So, speaking of optimism and hope and faith, we turn to our prayer for healing and hope, the Misha Beirach prayer. And so if anybody in our congregation is praying for someone else's well-being or your own, I invite you to share that name with our congregation now. You can rise if you wish. Thank you, Tereska. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Thank you. We also turn our attention to all of those names that are in our Shabbat Shalom brochure. We're people for whom our congregation are praying for healing. And we think as well of those Israeli and American soldiers that are being held captive or missing in action. And so we pray for hope and healing for all of them on page 253 with the words of Misha Beirach.
Misha Beirach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal We have a simcha we're celebrating tonight as well. It is the Ufruf, that means engagement celebration, of Alexander Fried and Megan Dice. And we're so thrilled that you're here to celebrate with your Jewish community at Temple Beth Sholom before your wedding on July 13th. So I'd like to invite you up for a special blessing tonight. I was wearing this morning in Homestead, but I don't think it's too dirty, so I'm gonna put it around you. And come a little closer. So, kol sason v'kol simcha, which means a voice of joy and a voice of gladness. I want to bless you both as we rejoice with you on this Shabbat as you prepare to enter the chuppah in just a couple weeks. May you know much joy and gladness throughout your years together and strength of spirit for times of sorrow and hardship. We pray that your new home will be filled with delight, laughter, an unending devotion for one another. May you build a Jewish home based on ma'asim tovim, acts of goodness, and may you be blessed with happiness, love, and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, God, for this opportunity that we have to celebrate together with you. Blessed are you, God, for all the joyful moments we share as a community and for the joy of this loving couple. So Rabbi Pomerantz and I will say the most ancient blessing of our tradition, the Birkat HaKohanim.
And having known you since you were about 3 years old, it's a special joy to bless you.
Yes. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may God bless you and keep you both.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may the light of God's face shine on you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may God's presence always be with you both and grant you a lifetime of good health, of joy, of good humor, of love, of blessing. And may you be among those to bring shalom, to bring wholeness and peace to our world together. Amen.
Amen.
And Mazel Tov.
Siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, tov, mazel tov, siman tov, thank you. Tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yehelanu, yehelanu, udecho Yisrael, yehelanu, udecho Yisrael, yehelanu, udecho Yisrael, yehelanu, udecho Yisrael.
So my assistant ark opener is here to open the ark. I'm going to invite all of you to turn to page 282 as we rise together for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula le'otzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyeh haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We're going to turn now to page 294 as we approach words of Kaddish. And this week we are remembering the following individuals whose loved ones are in the Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning. We remember Rana Raphael, Jean Howard, Alan Wilson, Lonnie Weinstein, Doris Pardo, Cindy Aronson de Kruif, K. Peter Wagner, and Rabbi Richard Levy. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing to you who knew them and loved them. And this week we are also observing the yahrzeit for the following individuals whose families have lovingly inscribed their names in a plaque in our alcove of remembrance. We remember Leona Albert, Stanley Broff, June Davis, Lillian Dublin, Irving Duboff, Helen Egnatz, Gail Feinstein, Max Finzelber, Sally Fisher, Harry Holland, Yetta Karasik, Rebecca Krensky, Rachel Anna Kuttner, Zachary Lee, Rose Lewis, Frank Lipschutz, Alvin Lowe, Morris Miller, Nicholas Morley, John David Mossman, Sarah Ruth Nixon, Jesse Ori, Max Reuter, Albert Rosenstein, Sarah Rosenthal, Alvin Schechter, Tessie Schultz, Helen Seppler, Scott Sheldon, Jack Scher, George Schusterman, Rose Siegel, Beulah Simberg, J. Bernard Spector, David Spiegel, Anna Rose Suskind, Iris Sylvia Unger, David Weinglass, Lester Weinstein, Jeffrey Yasmin, and Esther Zeltzer. And on this Shabbat, we are also observing the yahrzeit of the following individuals: Nisim Al-Hades, Myron Brody, Yetta Bussell, Victor Leonard Frank, Harry Glaberson, Tony Herskovitz, Leslie Hyde, Emmanuel Katz, Ellen Curry, Faye Malatesta, Dorothy Niefeld, Seema Oken, Ruth Hoberman Pascoul, Ruth Rosen, Harold Shrinsky, Linda Spiegel, Esther Spiegelman, Max Stein, Arthur Tannenbaum, John Ty, Celia Turkowitz, and Bluma Zayas. We take them all into our hearts as we think as well about those of you in the congregation who may have a name that you'd like to share, whose name I did not recite at this time. Glenn? Thank you. Anybody else? I'll ask the whole congregation to please rise. We think as well about the 6 million men, women, and children who perished in the Shoah, the almost 24,000 Israeli soldiers who died so that we would have a Jewish homeland in Israel, and the thousands upon thousands of American soldiers who died defending our liberties. We think about them all as we recite these words of Kaddish, these words of praise for God. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam olamei almaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'cheta v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who brings harmony on high bring peace to us, to all of Israel, and all people everywhere. And let us say, amen. You may be seated. So in our program, it does not list the name of a board member who is giving announcements, but I want to make sure that none of you I don't want to step on your toes if you're supposed to give announcements. No? Okay. So no announcements, except I'm going to make just a few. July 12th, there's once again going to be a group of Jewish people from our community who are protesting at the Homestead Detention Center. And if you want more information about that, you can ask Rabbi Bear. And I also just want to share with you that next week, July 1st, our new Rabbi, Joanne Loibin, begins. She'll be here next Friday night and speaking. So any of you who are anxious to meet her, please come, and I know you won't be disappointed. She's lovely. So this week, our Torah portion is Shlach Lecha. And I spoke about it a little before. It tells this very dramatic story of the Israelites sending scouts into the land of Canaan to determine if the land is good, if the soil is rich, if the people are few or many, weak or strong. And scouts representing all the tribes, 12 strong, go. They go on their mission, and they scout around for 40 days. And they come back with a report, and it's a bad one. 10 of the 12 scouts had this to say: "We came to the land you sent us to, and it does indeed flow with milk and honey. However, the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We cannot attack that people, for they are stronger than we are. All the people we saw in it are of great size, and we look like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them." Daunted by the size and scope of their opponents, these scouts saw there was no way they would succeed on their mission. 2 other scouts, however, came back with an entirely different report. Joshua and Caleb. This is what they had to say: "Let us by all means go up, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." 12 men witnessed the exact same circumstances. 10 bring a negative report, and only 2 bring a positive one. Why is this? And why is it that some of us see the glass as half empty, while others see the glass as half full? As Jews, we possibly have the predisposition to fret. There is the wisdom of that old Jewish telegram: start worrying, details to follow. Or this one I really like: the definition of a Jewish optimist is someone who believes that things can't possibly get worse. But it turns out that Jews are not the only pessimists. In an article I read in the Wall Street Journal this year, entitled "The Pessimism Reflex," I learned that, in fact, much of the general population has a negativity bias. Researchers asked people the question: has the percentage of the world population that lives in extreme poverty almost doubled, almost halved, or stayed the same over the past 20 years? You know, it turns out that only 5% of Americans got the answer right. It turns out that extreme poverty has been cut almost in half, thankfully. The researchers pointed out that even a chimpanzee would have done better by answering the questions at random. Worse than being ignorant, people believe that they know dire things about the world that are in fact untrue. So why do we cling to pessimism? One reason, of course, as I was thinking today when I read the newspaper, any of us who watches the news or reads the newspaper, is that bad news happens to be more newsworthy than good news. It's often more sudden, like a flood or a murder or a storm or a crash, whereas good news, like the gradual elimination of poverty, is much slower. It's much less newsworthy. People often overestimate the frequency of crime because that's what's in the news. Another reason is that bad news often matters more than good news. It makes sense to worry about risks. It could help you avoid getting eaten by a lion or swept up by a hurricane. And still another explanation for our propensity toward negativity is that as the world improves and gets better, people expand their definition of what bad news is. Yes, we do fret, as we should, about tragic, terrible news, like rising waters or the outbreak of disease or the threat of war. But without daily life risks, pettier problems have taken up the slack. As Weird Al Yankovic ridicules in his clever song, First World Problems, this is what he says in the song: "The thread count on these sheets has got me itching. My house is so big I can't get Wi-Fi in the kitchen." But I'm happy to tell you, my friends, that it's not all bad news. Recent studies on college roommates, and we have some who have just come back from college, suggest that our cognitive styles, in other words, whether we face adversity with optimism or despair, are not fixed. After only 3 months of living with a roommate, they influence one another in their cognitive styles. In other words, our mindsets can be molded. Even Debbie Downers might have the opportunity for changing their orientation with a little help from their friends. So why did Joshua and Caleb see opportunity when their fellow scouts saw disaster? Joshua and Caleb believed in themselves and believed that God was with them. While others saw themselves as grasshoppers and their opponents as giants, Joshua and Caleb believed in their own potential. And you know what? It turns out that this belief, believing in ourselves, is the most important ingredient in fueling our success. On this Shabbat, may we be influenced by the optimistic scouts who saw that the opportunity in front of them outweighed the risk. Indeed, it is difficult, challenging to battle that rush of negativity that swirls around us every day. But if we believe in ourselves and are willing to work hard to create good outcomes, then our positivity may be a self-fulfilling prophecy. For Joshua and Caleb, it was. They were the only 2 Israelites who escaped from Egypt, who were granted the privilege of entering the promised land. The rest were unable to see the promise, and so they perished. God bless us with vision to see promise even in times of peril, and to believe that each one of us might influence the future for good through our positive mindset and hard work. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be God's will, and may it be our will too.
Amen.
Amen. So what optimistic song do you have for us to close,
Adon
Rabbi
Olam.
Bear? Adon Olam.
The eternal goodness of God.
So let's all rise for our closing song as we celebrate ourselves and each other. page 323.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הופך והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשלו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמזרח והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת אישון בעירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.